Hey guys, welcome back to Cooking and Pink Food. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Charlene and I'm about to take you on a food adventure from right here in my kitchen. Come on. Hey guys, welcome back. Alright, today I'm going to be working on video 2 on my Chamorro donuts. Video 1, I was really brief with the instructions. I was getting some feedback where for some it was coming out just right, but for others dough was too sticky. They had questions about whether or not you need the dough. Instructions were so brief. My fault. I was trying to cram 2 recipes in one video to make that right. I apologize for that, and I'm going to focus only on the donuts this time and take it step by step, so hopefully it does help everyone. All right, let's get started. And here are the ingredients for my Chamorro donuts. Now, basically everything's the same as video 1, except for this right here. Instead of using shortening, I'm going to be using butter. But as for the measurements, it's basically all the same. Now, the method of how I make dough will be different, starting off with the flour. Instead of sifting the flour, I aerated, then I measured out the 2 cups that I would be needing. Actually, anywhere between 1 to 3/4 and 2 cups. It varies, but I'm going to show you what the dough should look like. All right, so we got 3/4 of a cup of warm water. We'll be using 2 tablespoons of butter, 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract, which is optional, 3 tablespoons of sugar, and rapid rise instant yeast, fast acting. So let's get started. In a large bowl, add the 3/4 of a cup of warm water, the 1 package of instant yeast, and the 3 tablespoons of sugar. And you want to mix that vigorously until most of that sugar gets dissolved. Now set that aside for about 5 minutes to froth up and to let you know it's alive. All right, then add the 2 tablespoons of room temperature butter. Now it doesn't have to be super soft, just room temperature. Now, using the back side of a fork or a spatula, you want to break down that butter as much as you can, kind of like making a homemade pie crust. And you'll see it's still going to have clumps of butter, and that's totally normal. All right, now the vanilla extract or vanilla essence, whatever you got, just mix that right in. And here I'm just adding the salt right into the flour and just giving a little mix, and then adding 1/2 cup of flour to start, just enough to introduce it to. Now, this part of the video may seem a bit long because there will be no editing aside from when I stop to wash my hands. Since this being the part that gave most of my viewers trouble last video, I want to show exactly how and how long it takes to work the dough. Now, notice how I'm scraping the sides while gently mixing. This is going to help incorporate all of the flour and thicken the liquid. And please do not skip this step. Breaking the flour into parts is a very important step in ensuring a not so sticky dough. And I really apologize for leaving it out on my first video. Now, once the liquid has thickened with some clumps of flour remaining, another 1/2 cup of flour can be added, mixing to combine. Now, at this point, a dough is forming, and there is really no kneading the dough after it is formed. Unlike most donut recipes where you knead after the dough is formed, with this recipe, it's more about the mixing until a dough is formed, which is one of the reasons why I love this recipe so much. It is so easy all around. And where I come from, I'm proud to say the beautiful island of Guam, the traditional way is even easier. We mix all the ingredients from the start with clean hands, which really helps in breaking down the clumps of shortening or butter. All right, now the moment you notice there's no more loose flour, you want to add in about 3/4 of the remaining cup of flour, leaving you with 1/4 of a cup left in the cup. All right, you don't want to add it all in at one time because adding too much flour will cause your donut to be very chewy. I mean, we want it to have that tender chew, but we don't want it to be rubbery. All right, now about here is where I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to run and give my hands one more good wash because I'm about to get in there all Guam style with it. I like to use my hands at this point because I get a better feel of the dough. I know whether I'm going to need more flour or not. and I'm able to break down all those little clumps without chancing over mixing the dough. All right, and now here you're seeing with the remaining quarter of a cup of flour that I had left in the cup, I'm using a tablespoon at a time until I get the right consistency. Again, I don't want to dump it all in because I still want my dough to be somewhat sticky. And you're about to see exactly what it's supposed to look like. And at this point, it's still a little too sticky, so going in there with about another tablespoon and a half. And that is all I need. So I got about a tablespoon and a half left if I did that right. I'm not sure my calculations was right there, but all I know is we did not use all 2 cups of that flour, and I got the perfect dough. It is soft. It's still somewhat sticky, but not sticking to my hands. And yeah, this is exactly what we want. So I'm just ensuring that it is smooth, pretty smooth. It's still gonna have little tiny clumps of butter in there, and that's perfectly fine. All right, now in another large bowl, just spraying it up with some olive oil. Last video, I used only flour. We live and we learn, right? All right, now transferring my dough into that well-greased bowl, covering plastic wrap, and then a dish towel over it. And we want to place it in a warm area, like your oven, where it's going to rise. It's going to take about 35 minutes to an hour to double in size. All right, now lining a large baking pan with some parchment paper, then dusting it with some flour. We want to ensure that it is not going to stick. The dough is super soft and you'll see it will be a little bit sticky. All right, now there we go. The magic of editing. Here we are an hour later and our dough had doubled in size and is ready to roll. Now, spraying a little bit of oil to my board and a bit on my hands, which by the way, you can use flour. I just find this to work so much better. Not having to add all that additional flour to my dough, I find gives me a much softer donut. All right, now simply punching out the gas, then just rolling it up and dropping it right down on my well-greased workstation. All right, now video 1, I had did a hole, formed it into a rectangle using a rolling pin, but this time I'm simply forming it into a ball, then greasing my pastry cutter with some olive oil and cutting my dough in half, then into 4ths, then 8ths. Now I have 8 even-sized dough parts. And FYI, it is totally okay to re-grease your pastry cutter in between the cuts. Now, when rolling out the logs on each part, you want to start from the middle and gently pull out. You don't want to roll too hard. And once you get to about 12 inches in length on your dough, you're going to go ahead and twist it in opposite directions as I just did on the video, and then form your twist. And then after forming your twist, you want to be sure you press down hard still at the end. I like to press down and then fold it and then press down again, just to ensure it doesn't come apart during the frying process. Now, as you can see, the dough is very soft. So be sure to follow the steps of lining your proofing pan with parchment paper and dusting it with flour. Speaking of proofing, my donuts are all twisted up, and now I'm going to cover it with a dish towel and allow it to proof for about 10 minutes. Now, I don't want to allow it too much time to double because I find it tends to be a little more oily that way. So 10 minutes is the number for me. All right, now lining a pan and putting a rack over it for the cooked donuts, for it to drain out all that oil. But if all you have is a bunch of paper towels, that would work too. And 10 minutes later, my donuts are ready to hit the fryer. And you want about 3 inches of oil from bottom to top. I don't want to give you instructions on how many cups because it varies with the circumference size of your pot. But 3 inches would be perfect. Now, speaking of oil, you want the temperature at around 350 degrees. But even with that, if your donuts are browning too quickly, adjust your heat. You may even have to remove your pot from the heat until it reaches a proper temperature. And how you'll know that is there'll be little tiny bubbles around your donut, forming around your donut the moment you place your donut in. If there's no bubbles, your oil is not hot enough. If it's browning way too quickly, like the moment you put it in, then it's way too high. All right, now after about a minute and a half maybe, the donut should be nice and golden on one side and ready to flip. If it starts turning really dark brown before that, anytime before that, then it is definitely too high. So again, adjust your heat. And once the donuts are cooked, you want as much oil to drain into the pot as you can before placing it onto the rack, where you're going to have it cool for about 5 to 7 minutes before coating it in some white granulated sugar or even light brown sugar or a mixture of both. I have here some white granulated sugar mixed with light brown sugar and a couple teaspoons of cinnamon. My husband and son, they love it glazed, and I make that glaze with some powdered sugar and a couple drops of milk. So yeah, guys, the sky's the limit with these donuts. It's so delicious, and like any other donut, it is best served fresh right off in the fryer. I promise you guys are going to love it. This donut is everything. It's affordable, it's tender, it's delicious, it's a must try. Well, anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. The information was more detailed, so I hope it gets you the perfect donut as well. Well, thank you all so much for watching, and please don't forget to like and subscribe, and please don't forget to click on that notification bell as well so you don't miss out on any upcoming recipes with me, Charlene, from right here in my kitchen, where every day I'm cooking in pink boots. Bye.